Hello, I'm Daniel MacIvor, and this is Queer Joy, celebrating the champions and changemakers of the 2024 PTP Pink Awards. Of all the inaugural year champions, Latoya Nugent best exemplifies the pay-it-forward nature of the Pink Awards as well as the connectivity of our community. When we were first looking for an activist to celebrate, we were immediately drawn to the organization Rainbow Railroad and the folks who work there. Rainbow Railroad is an organization based in Canada and the U.S. that helps people worldwide who are facing persecution due to systemic, state-sanctioned homophobia and transphobia. Rainbow Railroad helps people find safety through various avenues such as emergency relocation or crisis response on the ground. In 2023 alone, Rainbow Railroad received 15,000 requests for help from LGBTQI+ people whose lives were in danger. The folks at Rainbow Railroad are a dedicated team of human rights defenders and advocates, and one of those advocates is the wonderful, warm, generous, and self-described hugger, Latoya Nugent. I spoke with Latoya in the Rainbow Railroad offices in downtown Toronto about her own remarkable story. Can you tell me about your work as an educator and activist in Jamaica and what happened to you there?
Jamaica is a difficult place to live as an LGBTQI+ person. You experience discrimination in the education system, at work, in housing, in healthcare, in law. You don't have a full access to your rights as a human being because of your queer and trans identity. There's a lot of stigma and violence that many people in the LGBTQI+ community experience. But despite that, people are looking for community. And so one of the things that I focused on in my advocacy when I was in Jamaica is creating multiple diverse opportunities for the queer and trans community to come together, to celebrate each other and to affirm each other. And in doing that, to also advocate for the rights of people in the community. And that involved, a lot of community organizing. There's quite a bit of grassroots organizing that I was engaged in, partnership building with other groups that were considered allies of the queer liberation movement in Jamaica and the wider Caribbean. And it also included policy and legislative advocacy, because we also want to change the legislative framework that was contributing to the kind of stigma and discrimination that queer people, were experiencing as citizens of Jamaica. And one of the things that I felt really proud about is how in the programs that we developed for the community, we focused as well on the financial inclusion of queer people, because discrimination led to poverty creating circumstances for the community. And so, including that in the kinds of advocacy that I would lead was also very important for the work that I was interested in doing.
And then you found yourself in a situation where you yourself didn't feel safe anymore.
I realized in the course of my work, because I was seen as a beacon of hope, I buried a lot of the experiences I had with discrimination. So a lot happened to me that I didn't talk about, that I didn't even acknowledge until after I relocated to Canada. But the thing that struck me the most was how violent of an experience I had when I was arrested, in the course of my activism. And that kind of violent arrest that I experienced silenced me. It made me almost despise my own self for doing the kind of work I was trying to do, because in a lot of ways the system makes you feel as if you brought this onto yourself. That is what I experienced. And the violent nature of the arrest was very traumatizing. And because of that traumatizing experience, and because of the silencing that came with the violent nature of the arrest, I stopped doing the work. I had no interest at all in activism. I hated it because I blamed my activism for my experience, not just that singular experience of a violent arrest, but also the years of discrimination and other forms of violence that I had experienced, but buried in the name of, being an activist and doing the work for the community. And that's where I was for a very long time. I was very depressed, didn't even want to acknowledge it, and was in a really, really dark place. But again, not acknowledging that. And someone who had supported me throughout the arrest and that period in my life was responsible for leading this annual conference that's usually hosted in the Caribbean for queer women and gender non-conforming people. And she was visiting Jamaica and said she wanted to connect with me because, we hadn't connected for a while. And, we got to talking, and she was telling me that the conference was coming up. And I decided that, okay, I'm going to go. Because by then I was slowly healing. During this period, I was working with a group of university students, many of them queer women. I went to the conference. The conference was hosted in Barbados, and I got a really warm reception because a lot of the people who were participating in the conference are people I would have worked with in the past, and they had not seen me for several years. And I got a really warm reception. I think it was maybe the first night of the conference, I found myself walking along the beach and just crying and being grateful for that kind of reception. But the thing that really stood out for me at the conference was there's this panel that focused on the intersection of queer identity and forced displacement. And there was someone there from Rainbow Railroad who was talking about her own experience with forced displacement and, was now working with the organization. And so after I listened to the presentation, I reached out to the panelist who was from Rainbow Railroad, and I was talking with her, and I was saying, that I think some of the women I work with, they could benefit from this organization. And she said to me that, I didn't know her, but she knew me, she knew of me, knew of my work, and that the person who was standing before her at the conference was really just a shell of the person she knew, this warrior woman, this activist that she knew. And she said to me that she thought I needed this program for myself. And because of the impact of that violent arrest, I really, it was true. I became a shell of who I was, and I remember going home and I just couldn't stop thinking about it. And I reached out and I said, I think I'm going to go for it. I think I need this for my own healing. And I did it because despite some of the difficulties with relocation, I say to myself all the time, this is the best decision that I've ever made. And I've been so grateful to her and to Rainbow Railroad because I don't think I would have made the move if I didn't have that exchange at the conference. And to be here now, working with the organization, supporting people in this way, it's in a lot of ways it reminds me of the award because it's also paying it forward, having benefited from this kind of work myself.
When we come back, Latoya gets to keep paying it forward, and we're going to spend some time among friends. I'm Daniel MacIvor, and this is Queer Joy.
The 2024 PTP Pink Awards was made possible by the generous support of our sponsors, and we are deeply grateful for the generosity of our title sponsor, Decium, the Abnormal Beauty Company. Thanks to Sarah Frumstein and the entire Decium team.
Here we are this evening celebrating Latoya. So as I think about this, from Latoya being a recipient of help from Rainbow Railroad to working at Rainbow Railroad, it's a chain of pay it forward. And if there's any time we need that, it is right now. So Latoya, you are somebody who exemplifies beautifully pay it forward with the work that you do, and it's time to celebrate you. Come on up, Latoya.
Welcome back to Queer Joy. I'm Daniel MacIvor. And that was John McNain, BMO's Chief Operating Officer of North American Personal and Business Banking, presenting Latoya with her Pink Award. The Pay It Forward that John talks about goes back even further than Latoya and Rainbow Railroad. BMO launched a pride initiative called Rainbow Deposits to benefit Rainbow Railroad. And in 2024, BMO partnered with Pink Triangle Press on the third of the Rainbow Deposit campaigns, which, all told, raised $150,000 for Rainbow Railroad. It's Pay It Forward all over the place. And John also mentions the Pay It Forward of Among Friends. So now we're going to pay a visit to 519 Church Street in Toronto, the home of the 519 Community Centre, and also the home of Latoya's Changemaker.
Among Friends is a social, informational, community building space for queer and trans refugees from all over the world. I'm Lisa Duplessis. I am the Director of Programs and Community Services here at the 519. But more importantly, I first walked into this building as a refugee claimant from Jamaica, and Among Friends was my support. So I moved from client to volunteer to actual staff. Among Friends holds an incredible special place for me in my career at the 519 and personally in my own activism for queer and trans refugee claimants who come here from all over the world and start with us as members of Among Friends.
Can you tell us about what Among Friends does?
The thing we get asked to do as a service is to provide settlement and integration. Settlement is most of what we do in the group, which is to create spaces to get questions answered and to manage the legal bits related to their refugee hearing. The integration is the hard lift, and equally important or more important. This is where people get a chance to build community and develop a sense of belonging in Canada. So we offer other social activities that allow people to meet others, meet people from their own country, in their own language group, in their own identity groups, to build community.
I asked Latoya to tell me about her experience of Among Friends.
I didn't know about that particular program until after I relocated. It's such an important learning opportunity for somebody who is new to a country, not having a network here, not knowing many people. Some people who relocate don't know anyone at all, living in Canada or living in Toronto more specifically. And so the kind of community you're able to find at Among Friends really makes a significant difference in the kind of relocation outcomes you're able to have in Canada. And so I credit a lot to Among Friends. It's needed, and I know that it has impacted thousands and thousands of lives of refugees.
So did you know Lisa before you relocated?
I met Lisa on a previous trip to Toronto. And after I relocated, we became close. We are close friends now. We're also close in the work, because the work that the organization does at the 519 is also connected to the work that we do at Rainbow Railroad. So through that, we've gotten closer. And Lisa, in a lot of ways, has been there for me since I first relocated here in 2022. And sometimes I will joke that she was a part of my welcoming committee, trying to provide space for me or create room for me to be able to have a positive relocation outcome. And where I am today, I do credit some of that to the support that Lisa provided me in those initial few months.
So it really is among friends.
Yeah, among friends. That's what it is, And I was really excited about the fact that this award is really about paying it forward to a community organization that's doing exceptional and much needed work for the queer community.
I asked Lisa to tell me about Latoya.
Latoya. I first met Latoya online. I came across a number of posts about someone who had taken on a challenge in Jamaica, defending someone who was being persecuted. I was awestruck by this incredible warrior, this person who reminded me of all the things I wanted to do in my life in terms of my advocacy in Jamaica. I put her as my Facebook profile picture, sight unseen. I'd never met her. I remained in awe of her work. And when World Pride came along and I was asked to help support the organization of the World Pride panels for human rights, I immediately thought of Latoya. I thought this amazing human, we need to hear this amazing story of advocacy for women, for queer people in Jamaica. And we, as a committee, invited Latoya to join us. So I first met Latoya when she came to Canada for this event. And I was immediately awestruck with this human. We became fast friends and we kept in touch over the years. When she called me and told me she was coming, I remember my first reaction was, it's time. Based upon my own experience, I knew that her activism would lead to a place where she would face harsh persecution and perhaps have her life in danger. So it wasn't a surprise to me when she came. I felt the loss for Jamaica as a place that needed continued advocacy from a warrior like her, but I understood the gain for us in the continued fight for international rights. So I was pleased with her arrival. And we have been friends ever since. We are partnered on many small initiatives, personally and professionally. And it's a very valued professional connection and friendship for me.
And what was your response when Latoya selected Among Friends as her changemaker?
When I heard that Latoya picked Among Friends, I had multiple physical and emotional reactions. What an honor to have someone like Latoya say that this space, this group, this action helped her feel at home in Canada. That was an incredible honor. It's a very thing that we hope for, that someone who comes to us for service feels. But I also know the story of Among Friends hasn't been fully told. The depth of our impact has largely been untold. So for her to do this was such an incredible honor. It's incredible. It's an incredible feeling both professionally and personally. It's an incredible pride.
During our interviews, I was lucky enough to spend time with Latoya and Lisa together. Their friendship is a beautiful thing to witness. They laugh easily, they hug often, they can become suddenly serious and then tease one another with glee. They clearly have great respect for one another, like warriors for a shared cause might. You can see their strength and their love side by side. I feel lucky to have met them, and as Canadians, we are lucky they chose this country as their home. When Latoya presented Lisa the Pink Award for Among Friends, she called Lisa up on stage with her and spoke directly to her so we could witness the pay it forward person to person. This is that moment.
I know everyone has been giving speeches, but I think it's important for people to understand really why I chose Among Friends. And I want to say that to you, Lisa, because it's 2 days before my 2-year anniversary in Canada. And I felt home the very first day I arrived because the staff at Rainbow Railroad who was on my case took me straight to the 519 after we left the airport. And today I'm able to be in this moment to celebrate with the queer community because of the work that Lisa does, because of the work of Among Friends. And I want to celebrate this moment with you and thank you for closing the circle of support that is so important to queer newcomers. Many of us, we relocate alone. We are here as strangers, and to have a program like Among Friends, create that sense of home is so important. And so thank you, and you deserve it.
And then they hugged. It was queer joy. Thanks to Poulin in Toronto. Join us for our next episode, hockey superstar Marie-Philip Poulin, the You Can Play Project, and a very special guest from up the creek. Thanks to our presenting sponsor, Decium, the Abnormal Beauty Company, along with category award sponsor BMO and media sponsors iHeartRadio, The Globe and Mail, and Everything Podcasts, and to our publicists, Rocket Promotions. And this has been Queer Joy. I'm Daniel MacIvor. Thanks for listening. Queer Joy is a production of Pink Triangle Press.